Look familiar? Scenes like these are happening all over the galaxy right now. You could be next. That is, unless you make the most important decision of your life. Prove to yourself that you have the strength and the courage to be free.
Okay, jokes aside, small disclaimer at the start, this video is not about balance. This video is how to deal with CVs in the state we have them right now. And I know that Wargaming recently issued new development blog about changes to aircraft carriers and AA that are currently in a closed test. I will talk about them later once we're actually gonna see some of them going live. Now for some of the terminology. First, we need to distinguish two types of gameplays: micro gameplay and the macro game. So micro gameplay involves things like shooting, dodging, angling, or using your consumables, while macro gameplay is everything that led you to correctly do the things in the micro, which is your positioning, choosing when and who to fight, and of course contesting objectives. The correct playstyle for surface ships usually involves both using macro and micro gameplays, with importance of each being around the same. Without macro, you're not gonna make a good micro, and without good micro, even with good macro, you're not gonna do much. CVs, however, have very little to do with micro gameplay. CV's micro gameplay basically involves dropping, dodging AA, and using fighters and heals, which is very simple, as you just need to learn a little bit about drop patterns. Dodging AA is the easiest thing in the game. Using fighters as basically spotters, because they do not work as fighters. I don't know why Wargaming names them that way, they should be spotters 2.0. And heals is just basically press of a button. CV's core gameplay lies in macro decisions, which they make every time they launch a squadron. They need to think about the correct positioning of the aircraft carrier, not to die at the start of the game, choosing correct tools, which are obviously their squadrons, choosing when to drop and choosing who to drop, as well as helping allies secure objectives, because CVs cannot secure objectives themselves. They can influence a lot on the objectives. They can say that they don't, but themselves cannot go straight into the cap and do not die. Okay, so how do we actually deal with aircraft carriers? First, let's talk about what we can do in pod to prepare ourselves for the battle. First, there are some modules that improve our AA, but I don't recommend using them. They're usually not giving you enough value to be run instead of other modules. Running November Echo Settle 7 flag is almost always worth it unless your AA is below 100, which will mean that the improvement will be less than 5 points. Running defensive AA fire on ships that can be equipped with it is generally pretty okay choice, yet I strongly recommend using Hydro or Radar if it's possible to switch the AA for them. Captain packs usually are the best way to improve your AA, since they usually give you extra stuff apart from just pure increase in AA. So if you have some spare points, you can mount them. Simply improving the AA won't be the key to actually countering a carrier. If you want to check out how your AA interacts with enemy planes, you can go to the tab of your AA and put your mouse over the continuous damage to see correct values of your short, medium and long range AA guns. Also their firing ranges and hit probability, which is something that many people do not know about. Every class and every ship has a hit probability of their AA. For CVs and most of the destroyers, the hit probability of both flak and continuous damage per tick is 100%. Some destroyers have a bit lower value of 95. Cruisers usually orientate between 90% to 85%, and battleships between 50 to 75. Hit probability basically means what chances are for the planes to be actually damaged by your AA per tick of the game, and that works for both flak and continuous damage. Flak damage is also special since your total value of each flak explosion is actually the damage shown there divided by the number of shell explosions in a salvo. The more shell explosions you have, the less damage each one of them will deal, yet it's gonna be easier for you to actually hit one of the enemy. Another thing about AA that many of you probably know is priority sector. How it works, basically, with a simple press of a button you choose a side that will gradually have increased AA on the cost of the other side having much less. So be careful when using it, because you might nerf yourself during the battle. Okay, next thing is very important. It's a war of information. And now, checking out what enemy CVs can damage you with is the easiest thing in the existence. You just simply press tab and you hover over enemy CV. Then you can see all the squadrons the CV possess. But hold up a sec. What are the drop patterns for each of them? What do they do? Well, here I'm gonna explain it to you in a very quick manner. First, we have the HE and AP rockets. HE rockets are effective against low targets and basically work like small caliber HE shells, when AP rockets are effective against medium armor targets and work like small to medium caliber AP shells with zero overmatch. Both types of rocket planes also indicate where they're gonna hit by using their machine guns. Next we have the bombs. Bombs also distinguish between HE and AP. HE bombs are effective against all targets and work like medium to bigger caliber HE shells depending on which HE bombs we're talking about. AP bombs are effective against medium or larger targets and work like high caliber AP shells hitting you directly from above. HE bombs have two kinds. First we have the carpet bombing, which involves things like audacious territory, and we have the classic drop pattern from above, which for example Midway possesses. AP bombs drop in a similar pattern to classic HE bombs. We also have a special kind of HE bombs, which are the skip bombs. Basically, just like the name suggests, they skip through the water a couple times before hitting their target. There's one carrier with special kind of AP bombs, which is like Malta with AP carpet bombing. The drop pattern is almost identical to HE carpet bombing, just with the difference being the bombs are actually AP. Next we have the torpedoes. Those are effective against slow and stationary targets, and they are very difficult to hit nimble moving targets in open water. Each CV has its own unique pattern of dropping those. The most important part is that those torp require arming time, so they won't deal damage to you if you're too close to the place when the torps were dropped. 3 questions you need to ask yourself every time you see enemy squad. Is that squad the enemy CV's main squad? Is that squad designed to kill me? And what squad will actually work against me? Okay, once you identified the dangers of enemy CV, you can think about positioning yourself. And I know many of you like to position yourself very aggressively at the start of the game. I highly recommend you don't. First, you need to identify where the enemy CV is and what flank is it going to focus. If it's your flank, you straight up have to choose the defensive positions, as you're gonna be in a very high disadvantage when trying to reach the more aggressive spots. If at the start of the game you spot enemy CV supporting the opposite side, feel free to go there, but always keep in mind that you at any point of the game can be detected, and you don't want to risk enemy surface ships shooting you. It's not about the carrier killing you, it's about the enemy ships. You need to pay close attention to where the enemy planes currently are. Second of all, what you also need to take into consideration is from which angle enemy CV can approach you to actually deal damage to you. Well, if you took a look at the drop patterns I showed before, you will know from what angle enemy carriers' planes can actually deal damage to you. So position yourself in such a way that your vulnerable angles are covered either by islands or your own teammates. Now let's speak a little bit about dodging and choosing trades. Since we already covered enemy CV's drop patterns, dodging seems to be a fairly easy task if you're not being shot by enemy team. But what happens when you are being shot by enemy team? You see enemy planes incoming from a much greater distance than you're probably gonna notice enemy shells coming towards you. So, you need to plan accordingly. Baiting enemy carrier into thinking he's currently in the position where he can drop you is very beneficial to you. How do you do that? Well, let's, for example, you are kiting away in your cruiser. You're being targeted by an enemy carrier as well. First, you dodge the shells coming to you. Enemy CV is still coming towards you. You angle yourself in such a way that he thinks you're in the correct position for him to engage onto you. He starts engaging to you. That angle you're showing is bad for you to dodge enemy CV and to dodge enemy surface ships fire. The moment he starts engaging you, you change the angle to one that is favorable to you for both. So basically you're baiting enemy CV into engaging to you too early, so he cannot go back, and in this way you manage to both fool enemy surface ships and enemy carrier. Another thing is just straight up using smoke screens and other consumables such as FAA for extra cover. If you fail to do all of that and you are in between decision of taking the damage from surface ships or taking carrier's drop, always choose to dodge the surface ships shots rather than CVs. CVs will never be able to hurt you in a way that is much significant to what surface ships can do to you. So it's basically choosing the less evil kind of scenario. The last part is all mental. What you need to do is keep open mind to possibility of actually dealing with an enemy CV. Most of the carrier players are not incredible monsters you picture them to be. Most of them are usually pretty bad players with big ego, thinking that, oh, I just picked a ship that everybody thinks is broken, therefore I'm gonna be broken. I'm gonna be the best. Most of them are shit. You're still facing players, not really the class. Second mental pick is write to an enemy CV. But don't break the EULA. Be polite. Be polite. Write something like, nice try, after he misses you completely. Be sarcastic. You have no idea how much that will tilt them. It will hurt them personally. And when the CV player is being hurt personally, he's gonna try their very best to kill you. Meanwhile, you're gonna be running away to the border, away from enemy surface ships, so you're basically constantly just in a 1v1. He spends a lot of time in the air trying to get to you, just to do absolutely nothing, gets tilted even more, and repeats that process. Meanwhile, your team is being safe and sound because there's no carrier dropping them whatsoever for at least couple minutes of the game. Meanwhile, your CV can use that opportunity to actually help your team secure a victory. Maybe that's not gonna be the greatest one for your stats, but that works very often. thank you guys so much for watching and being wholesome in the comment section under my previous videos. I really appreciate that. That really motivates me to do even more. To motivate me even more, you can click that subscribe button over there, like the video, maybe share a comment about what you want to see next. I love responding to your comments. See you guys someday else, and have a good day.